So let's go directly through the ad platform real quick. So we're gonna go through just Facebook. I'm not gonna make you guys go through all 8 of those different platforms that we just went over. But what I wanna talk about is the hook. I wanna talk about what makes a Facebook ad good based on some stuff that I'm just seeing randomly on my own feed. So we're probably gonna see mostly business to business related ads because that's, it figures out your career pretty quick, right? Figures out your interests, etc. And keep in mind, the main principle here is these advertisers, I'm being targeted. I don't know if they're any good. I don't know if these people are making tons of money or not. Anybody can advertise. So a bad advertiser can target me just the way a good advertiser can. So going through here, I bet we're going to find a few bad ones and a few good ones. The good ones are going to keep in mind that I am scrolling. They're going to know that I'm scrolling and they're going to have a good hook and they're going to try to get me to stop scrolling. The ones that aren't very good at it are going to talk about themselves. They're going to talk about what they want rather than what they think that I want. It's a big difference. So we'll be able to point those out as we go through here, the ones that are advertising for themselves, for what they want to say, and what I want to hear. Two very different things. So this first one right here, hire remote developers in Latin America. Here's what I like about this, is they've made their actual Facebook page what they do. So I see it right off the bat. So that can be good. That's almost like social media SEO, but this brand is called Revello right here, and they could have just made their name Revello. But instead they made their name Revello, hire remote developers in Latin America. So I think that's pretty good. And notice how this is professional, right? I talked about how in Facebook, the creative is, generally speaking, it's gonna be polished. So I'm gonna say I like this ad, generally speaking. Now, in their first sentence here and what they're talking about, there's not really a good question or a good thing to pop to make me say, ooh, I should really click on this. But this is a pretty good ad. This isn't a bad ad. So let's keep scrolling through here so we can find another sponsored post. So here's Carvana. Carvana, what they have on their side is that they have good brand recognition. So they don't necessarily need to introduce themselves in the way that you're going to need to in your ad. You're going to need to pretty quickly say what it is that you do. They don't actually have to do that. So Carvana, this is more of a branding kind of ad. So this isn't necessarily a good ad. This probably won't make me want to purchase. They have a bit of a hook, sell your car 100% online. So their value is convenience here. That's kind of been Carvana's thing. But I wouldn't really say that they have a great hook going on here. So let's keep on scrolling, see all kinds of content that I might be related to. So let's go to Superhuman. Here's a good one. I actually like this. Let's start. It starts with a hook right here in this first sentence. Why are people paying $30 a month for this Gmail extension? That's just a little bit of curiosity, right? Like, why would people do that? Why would I do that? In all likelihood, I'm going to scroll through this. Most ads I will. Even the best ads in Facebook, their click-through rate is going to be like 1% to 2%. Okay, so most people, no matter how good you make your ad, are going to scroll right by it. But they do a good job. They're asking a question right off the bat. And again, look at the creative, really polished, really professional. The image itself, email like it's 2022. I don't know, not too great of a hook, but it's also not bad. So I'd say this ad from Superhuman right here, that's pretty good. Not too bad of an ad. So I'm sure they're probably making pretty good money on it. So here's one, and I'm happy we found one of these. This is less polished, user-generated, or kind of personal content. So this one is clearly filmed by a webcam. Marketer hire the perfect marketer by next week. So that's a pretty good hook, right? So this is obviously targeting B2B or professionals like me. So it's targeted me well. It knows that I'm probably doing marketing in the business world. I might need to hire a marketer. So the ad itself, this guy talking right here, it's really not that great, right? One thing I do like about it is for video advertising, roughly, and this is useful to know, roughly 70% of people are going to be scrolling either Instagram or Facebook with their volume turned off. Okay, so if you have a video like this, it is very useful to have subtitles and things like that because they're going to look at this guy, they're going to watch him talking here, and they're just never going to bother to turn their volume on. I mean, think about how many people they're watching it at work or while they're using the bathroom or wherever. It's places that it's just not necessarily, or maybe, I don't know, on the bus, public transit, on an airplane, in the airport, where it's not appropriate to have the volume on. Really, the only place that you would have your volume on is probably your house, right? But think about all the different places that you might listen to, or you might be looking at social media. So subtitles are super useful. So this is an okay ad. I don't know that this guy talking right here, adds the ethos that might be necessary, right? Why should I trust him? And the overlay comes on and says digital marketing expert. Like, how do I know that, right? So I'd say that's an okay ad. So let's roll through. Let's try to find one more ad. So I'm glad we found one of these as well. This is a really, really bad ad right here. This is a really, really bad ad. So look at some of the things that he's trying to do, which I think are good principles. So right off the bat, look at right here in the headline. His Facebook page is CEO of Hyros, Alex Becker, is what the headline is. So he's trying to add a little bit of trust for you right off the bat. Like, why should I listen to this guy? Oh, he's a CEO. So I see what he's trying to do with that. It's a little bit of weird execution having the whole thing in all caps like that, although the word of is not in all caps, but these are in all caps. So it doesn't really look very good. And this ad is very, very amateur maybe, or just, it's not well created, not well polished. And again, not every ad has to be like that on Facebook, but this one is clearly made with Microsoft Paint. You know what I mean? There's like arrows coming off of it and stuff like that. You know, right off the bat, if this guy is trying to sell me software or sell me something B2B, he doesn't look very professional here, right? So stay away from something like this if I were in your shoes. Stay away from something that looks shoddy, janky, right? So I would classify this one as a bad ad. So what have we kind of looked at here so far? Professional and polished, that's gonna get you a good quality clicker, right? Not necessarily, you don't always like, in the social ad platform, I know I was talking about getting the highest click-through rate possible, but if I'm getting a really high click-through rate because my ad is really shocking or really, really in your face, but those people don't end up buying whatever it is I'm selling, it's still not necessarily useful, right? So my high click-through rate will get me cheaper clicks over time, so that is good. But what I want is a high click-through rate and a high conversion rate. So you gotta find a way to make both of those work together. So if you get an ad that people really like to click on, but it's just because it's shocking, just because it's really, really creative, then you gotta finish the job with that, with what they see on your website. So keep that in mind. So what we've seen here, we've seen get your ad polished, we've seen add your value pretty quickly. So this guy, you know, for everything that I was saying about him, he did try to add his value right off the bat. So that's good. Try to say who you are, why it is that they need to be listening to you right off the bat. Final thing is say your value and what it is that you actually are selling. So don't make it too, I guess, curious, or don't make it too big of a question on what you sell, right? Like optimize your life or something like that. Like, what does that even mean? Like, at least tell me what it is that you actually do so you can get qualified customers. Now, we saw what Carvana did earlier. If you're a bigger brand, if you're one of the biggest brands in the world, you kind of have the luxury of not having to introduce yourself. So that makes it a little more flexible what you can advertise. But for you right now, you need to announce yourself, you need to create a hook, you need to get people onto your website. So let me walk you through 2 pages that Facebook has accessible to you to kind of help you get started running social media ads. So the first one is the Facebook ad library. So literally just Google Facebook ad library. And what you can do here is you can see what other people are doing maybe in your vertical. So you see some recent searches I did here. So let's just search the word shoes. I can search for what other advertisers have done in the shoe space. So what I can do with this, and let me say, I'm not telling you to copy what other people are doing, because that's the worst thing that you can do. Because again, just because someone is running an ad doesn't mean that it's good or doesn't mean that it's working, okay? So you need to figure out what works for yourself. But what you can do in the ad library here is just get a feel for what's out there, what people have been doing. And so you can see a little bit of information about ads that have been run. So any ad that runs on Facebook, including the ads when you create them, other people can see publicly any ad that you've run on Facebook and then get some information about it. So right here, let's look at this ad from Tricker's Shoes. You can see it's a sponsored ad. You can see when it started running. So it started running August 12th, 2022. So that's pretty recently for us. I think we're filming this in mid-August. So it's been a few days. You can see what platforms it's been on. So it's been on Facebook, Instagram. It's been on the audience network for Facebook. We'll talk about that in an advanced class. We're not going to talk about that now. And on Messenger, so ads on Messenger as well. So I can kind of get a feel for all the different ads that have been out there, where they're trafficking these certain ads, and maybe I can get a feel for what's been working. So if I could find an ad that, let's say when it started running, if I could find ads that started running months and months ago and that are still live, then I could say, okay, well, this must be working because they're still spending money on it months later. So you can start getting an idea for what kind of thing maybe you want to do with your ads, what kind of creative. So here in the shoe space, look at these 3 right here. We've got finely polished content. We've got some user-generated content with absolutely no text around it. So just the video itself trying to fit into the newsfeed. And then another bit of kind of polished content. So a lot of different things that people are doing with the same type of product here with shoes. So that's worth considering. You can go a lot of different places with whatever ads that you are doing. Just, again, Focus on what works for your brand. Don't go on there and say, okay, this brand is doing this thing, let me copy this to the T. Because their customer base is different, their geography is different, the type of shoe that they are selling might be different, their geography, right? Maybe they're more in cold weather, maybe you're more in warm weather, things like that. It's all worth considering. So that's the Facebook ad library. So start there. And here's another interesting one. So you might be saying to me right now, hey Brad, I don't have any ads to run on Facebook. I saw those things that those people have. I don't have any ads. So you can get a contractor, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or you can go to the Facebook Ideas Generator. Now, let me say, I'm not recommending you do this. In fact, I don't think you should do this, but I want you to be aware that this exists. Facebook Idea Generator. So I have a blank business. I'd like campaign suggestions for some time of year. So I typed, I am an e-commerce business, and I would like campaign suggestions for, maybe it's Labor Day, Halloween, football season, whatever, but let me just click any time of year. Okay, or actually, let me click Black Friday. So get campaign ideas. So if you really don't have anything to traffic, any kind of ads, you can go to Ready to Go Ads on Facebook and you can download some stuff that they have. A free trial, a free shipping on your first order, save on your first purchase, new product launch, things like that. These are some generic ads that you can run. Again, let me just talk through why I don't recommend you do this. So once you get this ad, so you might say, okay, this will help me get the ad live. I can get it running. Great. So that gets you live, but you are paying by performance. You're continuing to pay as this ad goes. And so if I stand one of these up and it gets me a 2-to-1 ROI, I might not even be profitable with that. But if I go out and I find a designer, I find a contractor, and I pay them $500 to make an ad, and my ad is now at a 4-to-1 ROI because it's that much better, I'm actually gonna be saving a lot of money in the long run by just paying someone upfront to do that, to make these ads. So I would just want you to think about that really for any kind of social ad that you're running, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's actually gonna save you money in the long run to make a good ad rather than a good enough ad. It'll save you money to make a great ad rather than a good enough ad because you're paying per performance on that ad. So when it performs better, you perform better. You will save money, you will make money by spending that money. It's a classic investment. So just go ahead and pay somebody. That's where I'm going with that one. So the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna connect your Shopify store to your Facebook account. So just like in Google where we had to connect Google Ads to Shopify, we have to connect Facebook to Shopify. And the reason for that is, again, someone's gonna come through to the ad, they're gonna come through to your site and there's gonna be a missing link in there, so we have to link the two. So we're gonna go to Shopify. I'm gonna go to right here under online store, we're gonna go to Preferences, Online Store, Preferences. And we have an area here for Facebook Pixel. So set up Facebook. I'm gonna add a sales channel here, connect the two. A little bit of loading time. All right, so then just go through the steps just like we did with the Google channel. So connect an account, we're gonna connect my Facebook account. Allow Facebook and Shopify to communicate with one another. Connect the business assets that we want to be connected. So connect pages or ad accounts. So let me connect this page. Check out through Shopify Online Store. So just leave that default. Data sharing. So this is the amount of data that you want to give Facebook from your account. So this is really going to be up to you, right? How much you want to share of your customers' personal data. So let's just stick with the recommendation here. You can go to maximum, you can go to conservative, and look at the details for each of these, like what actually gets shared, and decide what's right for you, what's right for your brand. A lot of you might not care with what you're sharing with Facebook. Some of you are going to be like, oh, I don't want to share anything with Facebook. If that's the case, maybe you shouldn't advertise on Facebook at all. But we'll just stick with the default here. And so here is where we're going to be creating the Facebook pixel. So let's create a new one. Confirm. So read that right there. Will be created after submission. Confirm. Agree. So submit for review. It's creating a shop in Facebook, right? All right, so we got the pixel created. Now we're in the Facebook Ads Manager, which is also where you manage the Instagram ads. So you'll see a similar structure to what we have in Google, where we've got the campaign, the ad set or the ad group, and then the ads themselves. So let's go ahead and start creating here. You'll hit this little green button here, create. They give you 6 predefined objectives. So you'll be able to start going through each of these to decide what is right for you. But for you, you're looking for ROI. I assume you're looking for ROI. You're looking to build a small business. Let's go down all the way to the bottom here at sales. So you'll see on the side, Find people likely to purchase your product or service, good for conversions or catalog sales, which are the things that we're after right now. So let's click on some sales and continue. So we got our new campaign. Let me just edit the name here real quick so we can, let's say that we're doing catalog sales, and we're selling shoes. So we're gonna make this a shoe campaign. You're gonna wanna make sure to name things properly while you're going, because once your campaign gets larger and larger and larger, you're gonna start losing track of the stuff that you've been doing, right? So let's name the ad set as well. So the ad set is going to be shoe audiences. So we have special ad categories here. You're gonna want to just ignore that for now. What they're asking for is basically, there was a while back where Facebook was having some issues with advertising discriminatory policies for credit, employment, housing, things like that. So we're not advertising any of those things. If you are running some other company where you're advertising for housing or employment or something like that, you're gonna have to self-declare what you are, or you will get suspended or banned later on. But you're not gonna have to worry about that. We're just selling some e-commerce stuff. So we have some options here, some campaign details. What is our campaign objective? Are we selling through our catalog or not? Through the Facebook app that we just installed, that'll also connect the products that you have in your store. So the store that we have right now, we don't have any products in it, but if you add products, it'll basically just connect directly with Facebook. So as you create new products, you'll be able to go into Facebook and see your catalog is a new product each time you create new product, new product, new product. We're not gonna worry about that for now. We're just gonna kind of do a more general campaign. Let's say we're just aiming for audiences that sell shoes. So our ad set, we'll call it shoe sales, like I mentioned before. Conversion location on our website, because that's where our pixel is. Conversion location on our website. So let's start talking about optimizations. So we want to optimize for conversions. We don't really have an option there because when we first selected the campaign, we said we want to optimize for sales. So obviously we want to optimize for conversions. So we're going to go through an estimated cost per result. So a cost per, in this case, it's cost per when we get charged, but we don't have to, or cost per when we get an impression, but we don't have to put anything in there if we don't want to. So that might be a good idea if you still want to find out what an optimal cost per action can be here. So maybe just leave that blank, or like we did before, start putting numbers in here and adjust later on. So maybe put the number 10 in here, cost per result, and just see if that's not spending enough, or if that's spending too much, and just adjust it from there. The same way we were doing with that Performance Max campaign. Let's set a daily budget. The higher your budget, the more data that you're gonna get, right? Just like with Google, and the lower your budget, the less you're gonna be able to learn from it. So just set a budget that you're comfortable with, but don't cheap out on it. Unlike Google, so keep this in mind, unlike Google, your daily budget in social media, or Facebook and Instagram specifically, it's not gonna go over. So if I set a $20 a day budget in Facebook, it's gonna spend $20 per day. So it's a little bit confusing. In Google, it's gonna spend more. Your budget's more like a recommendation. In Facebook, your budget is the law. It's not gonna go over that. So we're gonna go down and select audiences. So this is where you're gonna define who's gonna actually see your ad. And this is really where the money's actually made, getting your audiences correct. So we're gonna start with a location. And so people living in your location, or people in this location, recently in this location. So this could be useful if your brand is more about like travel or something like that. If you are a dune buggy company and you want to get people that are going to be traveling to the sand dunes soon, you could say people that are going to come here soon, or interested in, or traveling in this location right here, right? So people living in this location. So let's say people living in the United States country. So now we are targeting the United States. So just like with Google, we mentioned that before, stick with wherever your business is located, just for now. We'll create different stuff later on if it is working. So let's talk ages. So what are you selling, and who is it actually relevant to? So we discussed the intent of customers, the value of various customers, and we want to pay what people are worth, right? So if I said, does your brand want people that are 18 coming to your website? You'll say, yes, of course. And do you want people that are 80 years old? Sure. But if I have to pay for those people to come in the door, then all of a sudden, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more discriminatory about it, right? So let's say the shoes I'm selling, are actually kind of high end. Let's say they're $300 pairs of shoes. I probably actually don't want 18-year-olds for the most part. And I know you're going to be thinking, oh, maybe there's some rich 18-year-olds. On the whole, they're not going to be. So when they're clicking through to my site, they're going to have a much lower purchase rate than someone who's a little bit older. So maybe I set my minimum at 24. And I also know my shoes are pretty trendy, right? So maybe I don't want people that are 65 plus. So let's say we want to go 24 to 45. Those are the kind of people that may be still somewhat interested in buying trendy shoes. 45, that group might be better because, you might have less people that are interested in it, but when they are, they're probably going to have the money to just go ahead and buy it. So the value of that audience might be a little bit higher. So all genders, let's say you sell men and women's shoes. So we'll just stick with all on this one. And detailed targeting, this is where the fun stuff happens right here. So this is where you're gonna find the actual audience that you want. So there's demographics, interest, or behaviors. And those are three very different things. So the type of person somebody is, the things they're interested in, or the things that they do. Okay, three very different things. So let's just search for the word shoes, see what kind of audiences come up. So shoes as interests, okay, people that are interested in shoes. So this is a pretty big audience. You can see close to 100 million people worldwide. Those are always worldwide size numbers. And then you can go for different brands, and you can target people that are interested in different brands as well. So we talked about Tom's shoes before, but let's say your brand is kind of outdoorsy, maybe a little bit altruistic. So maybe you would like to target people that are also interested in Tom's shoes. So you'll see where my audience before was huge. Now it's down to 2.5 to 3 million people because I'm starting to pare down who that audience is. I went from everyone to just people 24 to 45 and just people in the United States, and now people that are just interested in Tom's shoes. So it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So the problem with that is you might try to go really granular. Like I want people that are only 25 years old, and I want people that are only in this region and only have this interest. Problem is once you get too nuclear, there's nowhere that you can actually spend the money. So try to find that balance. Try to get a little bit larger. Don't go crazy with the targeting that you're going after, because Facebook also has a bit of the algorithmic thinking like I was talking about with Google. It's gonna learn over time. It wants you to succeed, right? Facebook wants you to succeed because if you succeed, you're gonna spend more money with them. So what they're gonna do is if you give it a bigger audience set, so think of this not as who is my perfect customer, but who could be interested, right? And I need you to think just a little bit differently than what we did with the keyword advertising on Google, because I'm trying to get keywords for someone that's certainly about to purchase. This is just a little bit different because what we're gonna be going after here is someone that is probably in the bucket that should like our stuff, and Facebook's gonna do the rest. Facebook's gonna take the wheels from there. So just get some pretty good targeting. So let's just stick with that for now. So what you can do also is if you wanted to continue narrowing the audience, you could have a and must also match statement here. So Tom's shoes and they must also, and so let's look at another shoe audience. So they must be interested in Tom's shoes and let's see, and Steve Madden. That's employment, that's working at Steve Madden. Let's not do that. That's gonna be really tight. So let's go back to shoes. Let's go outdoor. Outdoor shoes. Hiking. Okay, so let's go with that. People that might be interested in Tom's shoes and might be interested in a hiking boot. So look what happens to my audience. It gets much, much smaller when you do that. That's about 1/6 of what it was before. So you can do interests based on, these are two different buckets here. I can continue adding more audiences here. So I can add people that like Tom's shoes and hiking. So that'll actually make my audience bigger. Or I can say people that like Tom's shoes and they must like the two of those things and only those two things. And if anyone deviates from those two, then don't target them. And so that's gonna get my audience tighter and tighter and tighter. So generally speaking, an and qualifier, you can do that if your original audience is huge. You can then do an and qualifier. Other than that, kind of stick toward just the include people who match targeting, let Facebook take care of the rest. So let's talk another really important one. Let's talk placements here. Manual placements, that's what you're gonna wanna do. So if you go automatic placements, it's gonna put your ad absolutely everywhere. Okay, you don't want your ad to be absolutely everywhere. You wanna pick and choose. So let's say this ad set that I'm making right now is just gonna be for Facebook, just for Facebook. And I want you to focus on that. For your ad sets, break out if they're gonna be in Facebook and Instagram completely. Get a completely different audience for your Instagram group and a completely different audience for your Facebook group. Then go to these placements and then you'll be able to select exactly which ones you want to be seen in. So a lot of these perform a lot better than others. Feed is going to be the best performing one. So maybe you're going to want to exclude everything but feeds. Into the things that go into feeds. So we got Facebook feed, Facebook Marketplace, video feed, right column. Maybe you don't want to be in the right column either because those are kind of little little banner blocks. And so, okay, it's pretty good. So we're mostly feed type advertising here. So people are going to see it as they scroll through. And let's click next. So we're done. From this point, we're done with the ad set. We've selected who we're going to target. So with that, I'm gonna say it one more time. You need to find people that are going to be in your audience base, but not exactly who's gonna purchase your shoes. Don't just target like a brand that's pretty similar to yours. Don't just target like the 25 to 30 age group and just like some really, really nuclear things. Get a little bit more broad with it. So the final step is creating the ad itself. So you gotta select your Facebook page. So let's say I'm eCommerceUniversity.io. You have to connect an Instagram account as well, but for this one, I'm not going to because I'm just creating a Facebook ad. But if you were creating an Instagram ad, you would just kind of, click that, add Instagram placement to your ad. So ad setup, let's create an ad. Let's do a manual upload. You can select what type of format you want here. So is it gonna be a single image? So a single image or a video, it's kind of what I was showing you before where it's just the one or it's just a video where it starts playing. If you remember the guy that was doing the user-generated content in front of his computer, so that'd be the video type. If you had that kind of asset, you can do carousel as well if you have like a bunch of different images, especially if they work well together. So carousel is a pretty good placement type. Let's start with a single image just to show you the basics of this. So let's add some media. Let's add an image and upload. So let me do that a little slower this time. So when it comes to, this is where the actual ad is going to be created. And we're gonna see a little preview as we create it. So you're gonna go to media, you're going to add media. Let's add an image, or you'll add a video if you have a video. You'll upload. So every time you upload a new image, it's gonna just stay in your library forever. So you shouldn't have to do, only when you have new creative do you need to upload. So let's go to downloads and let's find this image that I put in here earlier today. You may recognize it. So let's skip some of these optimizations. You may recognize it. That's one of the ads from before, from the Facebook ad library. So it's a little generic, bundle and save, whatever, but I just want to show you how these things come to life, right? And so let's add some primary text. Let's add a hook, hiking shoes hurt. That's a little question, right? Hiking shoes been hurting? Actually, let's make that the headline. Let's not make that the primary text. So that'll be right there. That'll be the biggest thing that you see. Hiking shoes hurting? And then here we can add some information about our shoes. Hiking shoes hurting every time you go out. And you can start adding just a little bit more information. And so you can see as I keep adding stuff here, this gets longer and longer and longer and longer. Now, if you go too long, eventually it'll cause the clicker to have to click more to see more of it. So get your most important information before the more. Right? So maybe just a sentence or two right here. Now you can make it as long as you want. That's just fine. But focus on your most important stuff first. So you can also change your call to action. So right here, it's learn more. For you, you might want to pick shop now. I want to do shop now. You can choose her and get a little description. A little description in here. So right now you can see it's kind of generic Facebook feed link description. So premium outdoor shoes. It's just something real easy right there. And let's capitalize it, make it look a little better. Outdoor shoes. Finally, we need to mess with our display URL. So right now that's not looking very good, right? Displayurl.com. Let's keep going down. We'll mess with that. It'll come from this website URL. So my www.hikingshoes.com. That's my URL. And so you don't have to put in a display link, right? It'll just pick the URL that you have, but you can also just have a fake URL. So shoes for hiking. Oh yeah, it needs to be from your actual domain. So you can do a slash behind it or something like that. What do you want your display link to be? Okay, so just ignore that for now. So go to hikingshoes.com. And this is the most basic kind of ad that you can create, okay? There's a lot of options here. So you probably saw, let me scroll up just a little bit because I just wanted to show you the quick ad creation process. My format, right? Single image or a video or a carousel or a collection. So a collection is a group of items that open to a full screen mobile experience. So that's the kind of stuff that you can do if you have access to creative or you've really been spending money on Facebook for a while and you want to start expanding your offerings. right? So for now, what you're gonna stick with, since you're just starting out, you're gonna stick with a single image or video, or you're gonna do catalog advertising. So the catalog advertising is you will be able to just select individual products that you have for sale straight from your catalog and advertise just that product. And you can do a carousel with products as well. So let's say you wanna do a hiking boot and maybe more of a running shoe, because that audience is maybe probably gonna be a little more outdoor focused. So you can do that with catalog-based advertising, just selecting your catalog. So right now we're doing single image. So let's go back down to our ad and see what it takes to get us out here and complete. So we can do manual URL parameters as well that we'll be able to see in Google Analytics later on, which we'll talk about later. But for right now, you don't really need to worry about that because it's gonna be auto-tracked. It's gonna be auto-tagged because we connect your Shopify store. We connected your Shopify store to your Facebook ads account. And so now there's not much more tracking that needs to be done. It's already being handled. So then what you can do from here, so here's my little ad, right? That's how it looks in your Facebook feed. Here's how it's gonna look in Marketplace. So you can start going through your different previews for how it's gonna look and make sure it looks good for each one, right? So you'll see right here when I did the Marketplace one, the Marketplace one is the most markedly different than the regular feed one that we had, the original Facebook feed one. So you go through each of those different previews and make sure it looks okay and make edits if not, okay? So from here, let's publish. I'm gonna spend US dollars, United States of America. Add in some billing information. And once we do that, we're good to go. So once you're done, what you're gonna do is you're gonna review and publish. So everything that you do in the editor, this is important to know, everything that you do in the editor is all a draft. It's all just on your local drive, okay? So none of this actually exists out there. So if my computer just shut off right now, all this stuff would go away, okay? So what you're gonna wanna do is review and publish right here. So you have to publish everything that you do. So go to review and publish. I don't have a credit card in here, but once you did, you would hit that, it would just kind of load up, and it would say done. It'd be done. So you're done with the Facebook ad creation process right there.